Thank you for listening to the show on Really Big Something Channel. December 7th, 2017.
.205 here on the great WRKO. Okay, later this hour, should people who are food stamps recipients, those who are on food stamps, should they be tested for using illegal drugs? Governor Scott Walker says yes. Is this a model for Massachusetts? We'll discuss that at 2:35. But first, the battle lines have now been clearly drawn. So, yesterday, it was, talk about Disneyland on the Potomac. The Democrats managed to force the House of Representatives to vote on two resolutions demanding the impeachment of President Trump. Now, I want you to think about this. He was sworn in mid-January. He hasn't even been in office a full year. And the Democrats have already called for an official vote to remove the president from office. You want to see how badly they want to get him? You want to see how they'll turn over every stone, use every trick, use anything possible to get rid of this president and overturn the results of the November 2016 election? Look no farther than yesterday's vote. Because what is even more remarkable is that when they pushed for these two resolutions to be voted on the House floor, they didn't even reference quote-unquote obstruction of justice or even Trump's supposed collusion with Russia during the election. So they didn't even vote to impeach him on those two things. What did they vote on? Listen to this. Listen to this. According to the person, the Democrat, he's part of the Congressional Black Caucus, Congressman Al Green from Texas. He's the one that spearheaded this. He said that Trump should be impeached, quote unquote, for his supposed association with, quote, white nationalism, neo-Nazism, and hate, as well as, the other one, inciting hatred and hostility. He said both of those offenses are worthy of impeaching the president and removing him from office. Quote, this is what he wrote in his letter, introducing the two resolutions. Friends, whether we like it or not, we now have a bigot in the White House who incites hatred and hostility. And if you want to see how rabid the Democrats have become, how consumed they have with Trump derangement syndrome, how pathological in their obsession to destroy and bring down this president, 58 Democrats, 58, 5-8, not 5, not 8, 58, nearly 60, agreed with Congressman Al Green and said, yes, we are on the record voting to impeach the President of the United States. They're not even using the fig leaf of him violating a supposed legal technicality. They're not even using a legal fig leaf to get rid of him. Whatever, the Logan Act, obstruction of justice, firing James Comey, whatever, trying to protect Mike Flynn, whatever, colluding with Putin or knowing about them hacking into the DNC emails and John Podesta's emails. They're saying he's a racist, and because he's a racist and a neo-Nazi, we're going to remove him from power. Let's wipe our hands, overturn the election, and let's move on and we'll get rid of Mike Pence. Next. Okay, he falls. Pence comes in. Pence, same thing. Neo-Nazi, white nationalist, racist, bigot. Topple him until we finally get a Democrat in office. Sarah Huckabee Sanders was dead on. This was pathetic. Absolutely pathetic. But what it shows is now the Democrats are fully in the fever swamps. And they will stop at nothing now to bring this president down. Even if you accept their argument, just for the sake of argument, okay? Okay, Trump's a racist. Just for the sake of argument. Let's not even debate it. Okay, he's a racist. He's a bigot. Okay. How is that an impeachable offense? By today's standards, Washington was a racist. Jefferson was a racist. Jackson was a racist. You want to talk about a huge racist? I hate to say this. Abraham Lincoln was a huge racist. He thought blacks were genetically inferior to whites. In fact, he thought that mixing of the races he called an abomination. In fact, he wanted to deport all blacks and create colonies for them in Haiti or the Dominican Republic or Panama or into Africa. So the same guy that all these liberals lionize as the great emancipator, by their logic, should have been impeached for racism. Okay, you don't like that. Woodrow Wilson, the first great progressive, brought back segregation to the entire federal government. He believed that blacks were also inherently inferior to whites. You should have been impeached. FDR wouldn't shake the hands of African Americans. He interned Japanese Americans. And by the way, his opinion of Jews, not very, let's put it this way. You could safely say he was an anti-Semite. FDR. When he was told about what Hitler was doing to the Jews in concentration camps, he didn't give a damn. In fact, he turned away Jewish refugees who were fleeing mass murder and genocide in Nazi Germany. He should have been impeached, the great FDR. I could go down. Lyndon Johnson, the way he used the N-word, Bubba loved to use the N-word when referring to blacks. Hillary Clinton, the way she referred to blacks. Let's take the dear leader. You want to talk about a vicious anti-Semite, a vicious anti-Semitic Jew hater. That was Barack Hussein Obama to a T. And never mind what he thought about whites, when he openly said they're, quote, racist in their DNA, as if they're somehow inherently evil or immoral. By their definition, Obama should have been impeached. So here you have a man who wants an America First vision where everybody of all races, white, black, brown, men, women, young, old, legal immigrants, American citizens, he wants everybody to start doing well. And all of a sudden, this guy's a racist? You couldn't make this stuff up. But what it shows is this. It shows how far the left is now willing to go. And they don't care about the consequences. Because I want to ask all of you this. Everything is fine. It was voted down 364 to 58. Paul Ryan laughed at Al Green. Sarah Huckabee Sanders laughed at Al Green, who, by the way, to me looks like a homeless guy. I swear, to me, this guy looks like, is he from a homeless shelter or is this guy a congressman? I mean, would it kill you to shave? I'm just saying. And maybe get a haircut. I'm just saying. But let that go. Let that go. What it shows is this. What happens if the Democrats take power in November? If they're willing to impeach him on this, they'll impeach him on anything. And when asked about the 58 Democrats who voted for impeachment, Nancy the Piranha Pelosi, her response was, not yet. She didn't disagree with impeaching Trump. What she said was, not yet. Now is not the time. Do it, but not now. Why? A, we don't have the numbers. We just don't have the votes, number one. Number two, let this Mueller thing play out a little bit more. Come on, we gotta No, we got to dress it up with some legal, there's got to be some legal dressing. There's got to be a legal guise, a legal cover, something. Let's wait for Mueller and we'll get him on obstruction of justice or a technicality or, come on, Al, don't make it so freaking obvious here. We just hate the guy. We hate him. Let's impeach him. In other words, wink, wink to her base. It's coming. Go out and vote. Steal the vote. Get illegals to vote. Do whatever you got to do. But in November, make me Speaker of the House, and we're going to bring this president down. Now, what is to me most chilling, there is an air of fanaticism in the country now. There is an air of ideological extremism and almost fanatical derangement. You're seeing it, to be honest with you, in this massive sex abuse scandal, which, don't get me wrong, I think it's disgusting what these men did to these women. But now, it's like all of these anonymous accusers. And nobody wants to put their name to anything. And all of a sudden, j'accuse, as they used to do in France. I accuse. No due process. No even real evidence needed. You just accuse somebody, get a couple of people to say yes, anonymously, hiding behind reporters or journalists in the media, and you can destroy anybody's life or anybody's career. And the second one, and it's all tied together, I believe, it's clearly now tied together, is let's bring this president down. And so, if we won't do it on Russia, let's do it on obstruction of justice. If we can't do it on obstruction of justice, let's get him for being a racist. If we can't get him for being a racist, let's get him for sexually harassing women, allegedly. Get him. Tie him down, block him, obstruct him, stain him, smear him, libel him. I want you to think about this. What intellectual or moral credibility can they possibly have when they actually, and they will, if they regain control of Congress, whether it be the House, the Senate, or both, they are going to impeach him. You take that to the bank. You couldn't even wait till his first year was over. You couldn't even wait for a genuine high crime and misdemeanor. You went after him simply because you think he's a neo-Nazi. Which, by the way, is so stupid and absurd if you know anything about Nazism, okay? But let that go. Let that go. In other words, this neo-Nazi, think about this. If they could make him king of Israel, they would today. After his decision to recognize Jerusalem as the undivided, eternal capital of Israel. They love him in Israel. In fact, the Jewish community, for example, loves him so much in America that even Chuck U. Schumer said, I support it. You know why Chuck U. Schumer supports it? Because there's a huge Jewish population, as you know, in New York City, and they would crucify this guy in the next election if he turned on Trump on that issue. So this supposed neo-Nazi is maybe the best friend Israel and the Jews maybe have ever had, with the exception of Ronald Reagan. But he's a neo-Nazi. That shows you how insane the left has become. Okay? But let that go. If they are willing to even push for articles of impeachment on this, what credibility will they have? It shows you don't want to accept the results of the election. And to me, that is the most frightening thing. This has never happened in America before. It's never happened, ever. Whatever you think of a candidate, name me any election, any. Never before has one half of the country said, we will not accept the results of the election that was won fair and square. And we are now going to overturn and change the government and overturn the will of the people because we don't like the decision that the people made in the election. even the Civil War, when Lincoln was elected, even the South, the Confederate States, never said, let's overturn the election. They said secede. In other words, you can keep Lincoln. No, the Republicans, they won. They can control the national government. We're just leaving. That's what happened. I'm giving you it very simply, without all the necessary qualifications and nuances. Essentially, Lincoln won. Okay, you guys want Lincoln? You can have the Republicans. We're leaving. We're out. They didn't say, let's overturn Lincoln. Let's impeach Lincoln. Let's get rid of Lincoln. They said, we're gone. We're out. Lincoln said, no, you can't leave, and hence the Civil War. Never has this happened before in American history. So what you're now seeing on the left is maybe the most dangerous trend of our time. They no longer will accept the results of democracy. They no longer will abide by the rule of law and by the Constitution. They have now become the very enemies of democracy, and they are now opposed to the will of the people. Now, you tell me, if that's not liberal fascism, I don't know what is. 617-266-6868. 58 Democrats vote to impeach the President of the United States. What's your reaction? 617-266-6868. Your calls next. Annie in Chelsea, you're up next. Thanks for holding and welcome.
Hello?
Annie!
Oh, Jeff, I love you in a non-sexual way. Oh, Jeff, these Democrats, why don't they stop harassing our president?
They hate him.
I'm tired of hearing all this. They're nothing but brain-dead moonbots.
Well, they hate him, Annie. They don't like him.
But I just can't. And with all this sexual thing going around and everything, oh, Jeff, I don't know who's on first base and who's on second base. It's crazy. This world is crazy. This is a fantasy island. You hear the plane? The plane! The plane!
Oh, thank you for that call, Annie. Can we get tattoo on Fantasy Island? Buzz, the plane, Buzz. Doug in Tewksbury. Go ahead, Doug.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you, Doug?
Good. Couple different things here. I think this call for impeachment is just ludicrous. If anybody's prejudiced, it's the left. They're prejudiced against their own people, their own U.S. citizens that voted this man into office to change things that the people wanted. The other thing I wanted to
Doug, sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. I promise I'll let you finish. But Let me just ask you this, just for the sake of argument, okay? What if the president was a racist? I mean, it's not Doug, if I'm a racist, if you're a racist, if anybody's a racist, it's not a crime. In other words, it's not grounds for impeachment.
Was a racist was our last president. I think he took us backwards with segregation.
Oh, completely.
Back in the 60s.
Completely. But, Doug, my point is, if you don't like somebody because they're a bigot or a racist or whatever, you beat them at the polls, right? You have an election.
Yeah. Well, that's why you have an election.
Exactly. But you don't remove the guy from office. So even, let's just say, okay, he's a racist. Fine. So, okay, and? I mean, you beat him in the midterms, you beat him in the election. How is that grounds for removing the president and overturning an election?
Yeah, it's not. I mean, I've had this conversation with people that don't like Trump. It's like, well, I might not like a few things that he said, prior to the election or whatever, but I think his best interest is in the country, which is something we haven't had in a long time. We've had all these special interests behind all these politicians, and it's showing now more than ever. And that was my other point, was how much longer is this Mueller committee going to go on before the Republicans stand up for Trump and say, you know what, we need a special committee to investigate you, Comey, Loretta Lynch, Hillary, Bill, Obama, all these other politicians that are so dirty and they live in the fat cat life and they're chasing this phantom on Trump that has never even existed. It's just a waste of time, money, and resources till we get to the, November. It's ridiculous.
Doug, great call. Great call. And that's why thank you for that call. That's why I was so excited to have Congressman Matt Gaetz on, because he's one of the people now leading the charge, saying, no, it's time to investigate Mueller. It's time to investigate Comey. It's time to investigate the FBI and their bogus, rigged investigation into Hillary Clinton. And he's on the House Judiciary Committee, so they're asking questions. Christopher Wray, the FBI director, is testifying. So his people have been calling us saying, we want him to come on, Jeff. We can't. He's asking questions of the FBI director, trying to get to the bottom of this. So we couldn't get him on. I think we're not going to get him on today, right, Brittany? Doesn't look like it. We'll try to get him on tomorrow. But let me just mention to you very quickly. One name, Andrew Weissman. Jeff, who the hell is Andrew Weissman? He is Mueller's top deputy, his number 2 guy, okay? It was found out, you remember when acting Attorney General Sally Yates, because before Jeff Sessions was installed, she defied President Trump illegally and refused to enforce his travel ban, and she became like a heroine among the left, and Trump fired her rightly because she has no right to defy the President of the United States. Andrew Weissman has now found out, texted Sally Yates after she made her decision to not enforce the travel ban, saying, you're my hero. Saying that, yay, you're my hero. Thank you for all that you do, Sally. He was praising her and gushing and celebrating that she was there thumbing her nose at the president, illegally defying a lawful order. And this is Mueller's top deputy? This is his number 2 guy on the investigation in this current special counsel investigation of Trump? He's an anti-Trump partisan hack. And Andrew Weissman hasn't been kicked off? In fact, Mueller continues to ferociously defend him? So what is going on is you have anti-Trump, pro-Hillary partisans. The evidence is now overwhelming, whether it be Peter Strzok and now this guy, Andrew Weissman, who so hate the president that they are determined to use the Justice Department, to weaponize the Justice Department to bring him down. Mueller's got to go. The whole probe, to me, is now illegitimate and it's got a permanent moral stain, because this is not a nonpartisan, objective, independent investigation. It is a political witch hunt by Democratic never-Trump partisans who are using the justice system to try to overturn the election and implement a silent coup. Or it's Disneyland or Fantasy Island on the Potomac. Remember this? Roll it, Brittany. This is Mueller. This is Mueller. This is Mueller. The plane, boss. The plane. Okay, my friends. The White House is explaining Trump's decision to recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. Evan Heidenrich has this information in the WRKO newsroom. Evan, take it away. 2:37 here on the great WRKO. Okay, should food stamp recipients be drug tested when they apply for food stamps? I'm going to get into this a little bit later. It is a program now that Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker is finally moving ahead with. It would make Wisconsin the first state in the union to do this. Good idea, bad idea, but first, 617-266-6868. The Democrats go for it. They pushed a vote in the House yesterday for articles of impeachment on two articles or two resolutions, essentially both saying Trump is a racist, a Nazi, and a white supremacist, and he should be impeached. First resolution, because he is a racist, he should be impeached. The second resolution, he incites hatred and racism, so he should be impeached for that as well. 58 Democrats voted yes. 364 in the House voted no. It was defeated easily. Nancy Pelosi, when asked, said, we're going to impeach, but not now. Not yet. Hold your fire. What, God forbid, will happen if the Democrats do win back Congress and actually go ahead with attempting to remove the president from office? Joyce in Connecticut, you're up first. Go ahead, Joyce.
It's great to talk to you. I used to live in Boston. Now I'm living in Connecticut, so I'm listening to you on my Echo.
Thank you, Joyce.
Great show. I just wanted to say something in reference to Trump being a racist and all this brouhaha that's going on. Whatever happened to the issue with Reverend Wright when Barack Obama was spent 20 years in his church? Didn't recall hearing one sermon that was racist. But yet we know he was a racist. But nobody said anything about him Obama being impeached because of being a racist.
Brilliant. I mean, absolutely. I mean, Joyce, honestly, checkmate. The game, set, and match. I mean, really, you nailed it. It's almost like, Joyce, do you have a microphone? Just drop the mic. You know the drop. You know, you say that's it. Just drop the mic. There's nothing else to say.
There really isn't. No,
Touche.
so I invite people to remember that while they're being so impatient and hateful themselves. So,
Joyce,
that's all I wanted to say.
Joyce, drop the mic. Thank you for that call. We should nickname her. Drop the mic, Joyce. Dennis in Mendon. Go ahead, Dennis.
Yeah, Jeff, thanks for having me on. Listen, I listen all the time, or I listen a lot, and, you know, the problem we have in this country, it's not Democrat and Republican, it's liberalism. It's a worldview that is diametrically opposed to the foundations of this country, our laws, our values, our Constitution, and the worldview of our founding fathers that gave us this country, which is a Christian worldview. Whether you're talking about the environment, you're talking about money, whether you're talking about national security and safety, a liberal worldview is diametrically opposed to what you and I would call common sense or American values. And that's the problem. For 50, 60 years, we have embraced this worldview too much, and we've got these nitwits in the courts. We have them in the legislature, and we're dealing with this whole thing now, and I'm afraid that we're just seeing the tip of the iceberg. This fight with Trump, this is just the beginning of the fight to take our country back. It's not the end. It's just the beginning, Jeff. What do you think?
Dennis, look, I think you're 1,000% correct. And you touched on something I think very profound when you said it's opposed to common sense, the Christian worldview, to the American worldview. Notice now, they really are telling us, here's what they're telling us: we will not accept the results of an election.
That's correct. Let me tell you something. The spirit of liberalism is the spirit of rebellion, and you cannot separate the two. And there's no more rebellious people than Obama, than Clinton, than Elizabeth Warren. They're the most rebellious people in our society, and they're the most liberal. And they hide under the guise that they're open-minded and for everybody. They're not. They're fascists. Just like you tell the people the truth, they're fascists, Jeff.
Bingo. Dennis, look, honestly, thank you for that call.
All right,
they're showing us just how intolerant they are. To the point is now they're intolerant to accept the results of an election. So it's no longer just they will shut you down for your speech. They will prevent you from speaking at campuses. They will try to drive you from your job if you're a talk show host or whatever. They're no longer just trying to muzzle and silence conservatives or the opposition. Now they're saying, even if you win an election, fine, we don't accept it. We don't accept it. Now, we've never crossed that line before, ever in our history. If they go forward with this, and they got 58 votes yesterday, with Pelosi going wink, 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 we need the majority. Wink, wink. Midterms 2018. Wink, wink. You cross that Rubicon, there's no going back. Nancy in Medford. Go ahead, Nancy.
Hi, Jeff. Nice to speak to you.
Hi, Nancy.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Go ahead. The floor is yours. Go ahead. It's all yours.
Thank you, Jeff. Thanks. Impeachment is ludicrous. Overturning the election is leftist commie way, and enough is enough. Judge Roy Moore should fight with everything he has because there's no credible evidence and most likely false accusations. Enough is enough. For him to bow out or for the Republicans to stop him in regard to collateral damage is not even an option because when Attorney General Jeff Sessions recused himself from the Russian involvement, this resulted in great harm to this country based on false accusations. Enough is enough, Jeff.
Nancy, I'm with you. Enough is enough. Look, Elena, who I highly respect, one of our previous callers, says, the problem with Republicans, look, Ronnie said it best, but, they dig in their heels. They don't. I mean, with all due respect, they don't. What I love about Trump, he's a fighter. He's a fighter. And Roy Moore is a fighter. The guy's a warrior. And so it's time now. Look, the battle lines have been drawn. I mean, there's just no getting around it. And now it's becoming something really now as simple as this. Are you pro-democracy or anti-democracy? Are you pro-constitution or anti-constitution? Are you pro-will of the people or are you against the will of the people? In other words, it's the people versus the elites. Democracy versus anti-democracy. And the Democrats and the liberals are saying, we side with the opposition to democracy. It's Marxism. It's what this is an American version of Marxism or fascism, whatever you want to call it. But liberalism, as we used to know it, is now dead. Anthony in Kingston, New Hampshire. Go ahead, Anthony.
Jeff, this is just grandstanding by the left, and it's no longer the left anymore. It's an affectionate word that I call libtards, and that means no disrespect to the mentally challenged because to refer them to them is an insult to the mentally challenged. This is just the war has started the day that Trump went into office. We're having a non-violent we're having a violent civil war right now as we speak, and it's being fought by the left against the one that won, the right.
Anthony, that is very interesting. So what you're saying is, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, when you see Antifa, Black Lives Matter, the violence on campuses, the violence against conservatives, you're basically saying this is like a low-level civil war.
Absolutely, 100%. And as far as this sexual thing that's going on, we're judging history, and this is something that you said in the past. We're judging history on today's standards, and when you do that, it's ludicrous. It's crazy because Judge Moore, 35 years ago, when he was 26, might have been attracted to a 16-year-old girl. Back then, that was an acceptable practice. Today's standards are totally different. As far as these sexual things, I'm sorry, but if a man doesn't make a move on a woman, he never gets past the friend zone. And I think that this is the feminists coming out to fight against Donald Trump, to use whatever they can out of their arsenal. And we all know that the feminists on the left will scream rape and just use it as a tool to fight against anybody that they hate. And as far as the Trump inspiring hate, the only people that he's inspiring hate in is the libtards.
Anthony, thank you very much for that call. Jimmy in Dorchester. Go ahead, Jimmy.
Afternoon, Jeff. Jeff, do you watch a program at night on CBS with the elf Stephen Colbert?
I never watched Stephen Colbert, ever.
You got to see what he's showing. He's degrading our religions, Jehovah's Witnesses, Baptists, evangelists. He did a skit yesterday where he said that the evangelist, this thing with Jerusalem, is all predicted that once they have Jerusalem, the coming of Christ will be coming, the second coming of Christ. And then he did a skit where he's asking God in heaven, are you going to send your son to earth? And he said, hell no, right? Well, I'm going to tell you something. A lot of the people in Alabama, a friend of mine, Cedric, he worked with me and my brother at Gillette. He said a lot of the African Americans are getting tired with nobody sticking up for him except Trump. They're going to be voting for him. They're going to be in for a big surprise. And he said like this to me, Jeff, if you are with sin, if you're with sin, then cast the first stone. If you're without sin.
Jimmy, I'm just curious, when Colbert does his Christian bashing, Christian bigotry routine, does he ever make fun of the Muslims?
No, because you know why? Because remember what happened in France, the cartoonist?
Oh, I know, Charlie Hebdo. Charlie Hebdo. So hold on, Jimmy.
Got the guts.
So you mean he's never pretending like he's talking to Allah or the Prophet Muhammad, or he's never making fun of Muslims? He never does that, Jimmy.
No.
Wow.
But Jeff,
but it's the religion of peace, Jimmy. Jimmy, Islam is such a peaceful religion. Why would Stephen Colbert be so afraid, Jimmy?
Because he ain't got no guts. That's why. He's a coward. He's gutless. And he's mocking our religions, Jeff. He's a coward.
He is. He really is. Jimmy, thank you for that call. I mean, you see, look, their own actions indict them. They keep going on, right? Christianity is this supposedly bigoted, hateful religion, right? This dangerous, the religious right. Oh, my God. In Alabama, these evangelicals, oh, my God, they're pro-Israel. Oh, my God, they're going to vote for Roy Moore. Oh, my God. But Islam, don't even mention Allah. Don't even mention the Quran, Prophet Muhammad. Don't even say the name. Why? Because you're going to get a Charlie Hebdo, baby. Their own actions tell you that they don't believe the lies that Islam is a religion of peace. You know what's the real religion of peace? Christianity. And they know they can make fun of us all day long, and nothing will happen. You phonies, you frauds, you. 2:55 here on the great WRKO. Okay. Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker is now moving ahead with a very quote-unquote controversial plan to make his state, Wisconsin, the Badger State, the first in the country to drug test able-bodied adults who apply for food stamps. Now, to be clear, these are able-bodied adults with no children. And what Walker is essentially saying is, if you're going to be taking taxpayer money, our money, allegedly for food, then we should know that the money is not going towards you buying, I don't know, marijuana or cocaine or crack or heroin or whatever, sniffing glue or whatever it is. You're not going to be getting high and getting stoned with our money. You need food, fine, but use the money for food. Don't use the money for drugs. I am 1,000% behind this program. I think it shouldn't just be food stamps. I think it should be Section 8 housing. I think it should be EBT. I think it should be welfare. Whatever, when you get public assistance, it should go directly for that and not for you to be able to siphon it off or use it in some way, shape, or form to take care of your habit. I think it's our money, and we have a right to demand that you sober up, be clean, and if you can, if you're an able-bodied adult, go out and eventually become a productive member of society. And so I am for this all the way. Agree, disagree. Andrea in Stoughton, you're up first. Go ahead, Andrea.
Yes. I heard your thing about the food stamp issue. Quite a little annoyed. I've heard it several times, or actually over the years, out of your mouth about food stamps. And I do understand, the people that are like scumming off it or sucking off it or whatever the hell you want to call it. Okay. But then there are other people that get it because they need it. And then you tell them that they're not even allowed to buy a cookie if you had it your way.
No, in fact, no, Andrea, it's the opposite. I'll be very honest with you. I think if you're poor or genuinely needy, you should get food stamps. What's happened, Andrea, is that because they put everything on EBT, it's no longer a food stamp. You get cash. Or in a lot of states, it's cash.
No, but they do not do that in Massachusetts.
Hold on.
Well,
I'm talking Wisconsin. And so they're abusing the system by taking money that should go towards food and instead going to pay for their habit. I think it's wrong.
I don't know why they're giving them cash. Over here, you get an EBT card, and you either get food or cash. It's whatever you are allotted for.
Well, that's
over here in Massachusetts. We're
I know
not talking about Wisconsin.
No, I understand that,
but over here, where we're from,
I understand that. So, but let's just take Massachusetts. I don't think you should get cash on an EBT card. I don't.
Listen, I don't want to be told. Okay, I understand.
It's my money. Look, I'll tell you why. It's my money, Andrea. It's my money.
You're not going to tell me whether I can buy a cookie. I mean, you think you don't eat a cookie once in a while and a cup of milk?
On food stamps, you can get milk and you can get cookies. I don't want you to take cash. Hold on, Andrea, hold on. I don't want you to take cash and go buy lottery tickets or buy cigarettes or buy booze or buy crack or buy drugs. That's not for you to use on my money.
If you need it, it's not over here.
It is.
All right.
You get cash through EBT, do you not?
You're making everybody think that over here, because it's a Massachusetts radio station.
Over here, listen, Andrea, over here, you get EBT, which gives you cash. Yes or no? Over here.
No, only if you
don't get cash?
Some kind of
you don't get cash from EBT. You're the only one that's not getting cash from EBT. Over here. I mean, I'm just telling you. So
they don't do it the way you think they do it anymore.
Well, I'll tell you something else. A lot of the food stamps go to illegal immigrants as well. So there's less food stamps for real Americans. That's another problem. But no more cash assistance. It's my money. You buy food, housing, whatever. But drugs, booze, lottery, no.
The voice of Boston is you. 680 WRKO Boston, 93.7 WEEI HD2 Lawrence, Boston. It's 3 o'clock.